Hello and welcome to another episode. I am Brian, the Unskilled Commander. This is match 2 of Insects, Daleks, Anim, and Ezuri. Last game, the Insects actually won, which was pretty cool. Most of the decks performed okay. Daleks, of course, didn't really do anything until the very end of the game, which was kind of to be expected because it's a 7-drop commander, so it was really hard to get him out fast. I wasn't able to hit the right mana rocks and or any kind of draw spells to get moving quicker, so that's something I'm going to have to really retool pretty much every deck I own and try and get closer. Normally I have like about 10 pieces of card draw per deck. That's cards that actually say draw a card, like Ponder or something, I don't know, whatever. But also equipments or creatures that are like, when this deals damage, draw a card. Like I count all of that. So it's probably close to like 10 to 13 per deck. Regrettably, it probably needs to be more like 17 or 18 per deck to really make sure you're always drawing cards and always having options to play. I will have to, at some point, perhaps in the new year, try and start retooling my decks in that vein, but it's just really hard to cut cards to make room for those draw spells because I feel like I'm cutting the cards that actually do what the theme of the deck is, and I don't like to take away that. You're all having a good day out there. I thank you very much for checking out the channel. If you haven't already, please subscribe, throw some likes around, all that garbage. I don't like to really ask about that. I've been doing it every episode now recently, but I do hate that whole begging for things. It's like, you know what to do. If you like the channel, you'll subscribe. But still gotta try and throw that out there, I suppose. So let's jump into match 2. I roll the dice, and Insects actually gets to go first. We'll see if that helps them win again or not. I'm going to play a Radiant Grove, comes in tapped, and I'll pass. Draw over here, Edgewalled in, and it's tapped, and we're going to say it taps for a green. I have these cool little beads that I can put on for different colors. I don't have all the colors because these are from like years and years and years ago. I only have like blue, white, green, and like that's pretty much it. But good enough for this deck. We will pass turn. Play Sundown Pass, comes in tapped unless you control two or more. Oops, no, that's fine. Two or more other lands. I don't, so it comes in tapped, but I don't have any one drops, so it's fine. We'll pass turn. I'll play Graven Carns, comes in, or it taps for colorless, or I can pay a red or a black and tap it to make double black, double red, or red and black. So I could like play this mountain and just basically attach it like this, and then every time I taps, it taps for one of each or whatever I need. But I have no one drops, so we'll pass. Turn 2, let's go. Playing a forest for turn, tapping both for a rampant growth. Basic land card on the battlefield, tapped shuffle library. Getting a forest. Getting a forest because basically the bulk of the cards in the deck, or the bulk of the insects rather, are green, but also because I literally have 3 planes in my hand, so I want to try and counterbalance that. That's all we can do, we will pass. Untap, upkeep, draw. I'll play a Rogue's Passage. No 2 drops, so I will pass. Untap over here, upkeep, draw. I'll play a mountain for turn, tap both for a fractured power stone, just tap it to add a colorless, or you can tap it to roll the planar die, activate only as a sorcery. That's for if you're playing plane chase, but doesn't stop it from working as just a colorless mana. And I will tap it for a colorless mana to play Raft Digger's Cage. Creature cards in graveyards and libraries can't enter the battlefield. Players can't cast spells from graveyards or libraries. We had a card that was very similar to this last game, the Soulless Jailer. Again, basically the reason why they're in this deck, not for any specific theme, it's just that the Soulless Jailer, the Digger's Cage, and like one other card I have that are kind of like locked down like that, that stops people from playing graveyards and libraries and junk. I just have them and they keep getting kicked out of other decks, so I'm like, screw it, I'm putting it in this one just to see what happens. Because they're good cards, and a lot of people, not about, like, I don't want to shut off a graveyard recursion deck. Like that's literally what the deck does, and they're obvious about it. They're like, oh, this commander is all about dumping cards into my graveyard, getting them back out, and winning. It's like, well, I don't want to shut off your deck. That's no fun. But a lot of normal decks also have stuff where like, oh, I can bounce this out of my graveyard, or remove cards from the top of my library into exile and play them till end of turn. Well, that stops that. So it's just like a couple cards per deck that it would shut off, but it helps slow people down and play fair and balanced Magic. Gosh darn it. We'll pass turn. Untap, upkeep, draw. I'm going to play a mountain, tapping 2 for an arcane signet. No one drops. Well, actually, I do. So I will do that. I will tap for a black and play Changeling Outcast. It's a 1/1. A Changeling. This card is every creature type, and it can't block and can't be blocked, which means it's technically a Dalek, and the Dalek Emperor has affinity for Dalek, so it costs 1 less for each one you have on the battlefield. So now instead of being a 7-drop, it's currently a 6-drop, which is cool because that speeds it up. And we saw last game that it literally came out on turn 7, which was way too late in that game to have any bearing on the outcome. So this will at least, maybe we'll get it on turn 6 now. Who knows? We'll pass turn. Untap over here, upkeep, draw. We'll go ahead and play Command Tower. I'm going to tap 3 and play Kadama's Reach. 2 basic land cards, reveal them, one into the battlefield, one into your hand. So we're getting 2 forests, 1 on the battlefield tapped, 1 into my hand. I will tap the last land I have for a green to play. Oh no, wait, I don't want to do that. Sorry, because it has an effect when it enters, and it would be useless right now. So unfortunately, I have like a lot of lands in my hand, but we're kind of we're not kind of. We're definitely ramping, which is good. But that's all we can do. We will pass. Untap, upkeep, draw for turn. Play an island. Tapping all 3 for Letter of Acceptance. Taps for 1 mana of any color, and I can pay 2 and sacrifice it to draw a card. All right, that's all we can do there. We're going to pass turn. So we've got some decent ramp going around the table for the most part, except for this deck. Untap, upkeep, draw. I'll play Fury, Calm, Snarl. When it enters, you can reveal a Plains or a Mountain. There's a Plains. So it comes in untapped, and I will tap all 3 to play the commander. Anim Pakal. Thousandth Moon, my lord. Thousandth Moon. I can't even say it. Blah, 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 blah. I try and say it, and my tongue swells up 5 times. Thousandth Moon. It's a 1/2. Whenever you attack with 1 or more non-gnome creatures, put a 1/1 counter on Anim. Then create X 1/1 colorless gnome artifact creature tokens that are tapped and attacking, where X is just the number of counters on Anim, not the total power of her. But that is also all we can do, so we will go ahead and pass. We're going to untap, upkeep, draw for turn. Play a swamp for turn, tapping all 3 for a commander sphere. So we're ramping a little bit over here finally, which is good versus last game. That will hopefully help us. So we should get the commander out on next turn because it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 1 more land that we can play for 6, and that would count as 7. Cool. The Daleks might actually be able to do something. We could attack. And it can't block anyway, so it might as well. Yeah, we'll go ahead and swing at you because you won last game and first blood and all that stuff. Pass turn. Untap, upkeep, draw for turn, play a Plains. Wow, we're just hitting every single ramp spell in this deck, but fine. Why not? Tap 3 for Cultivate. 2 basics. Wait, make sure I didn't do that wrong. Yeah, because I almost reached it. 1 into the hand, 1 into the battlefield. So we'll put Plains onto the battlefield tapped, and then a forest into my hand. What this means is while we're not really doing too much else, when we cast the commander, we can dump a few extra mana into the X spell and get more tokens. However, because we're waiting so long, someone could very well counter it. Not in these groups, but in a real game, someone would probably counter it. However, I will tap 3, including a green, to play Saber Ants. It's a 2/3. Whenever it is dealt damage, you may put that many 1/1 green insect creature tokens into play. I will then pass turn. Untap, upkeep, draw for turn. I'll play Hidden Cataracts, comes in tapped. Actually, no. You know what? I'm going to play Rimewood Falls tapped, because that way it taps for 1 of each. Either or, green or blue. I will then tap all 4 mana to cast Ezuri, Claw of Progress. It's a 3/3. Whenever a creature with power 2 or less enters the battlefield under your control, you get an experience counter. We will use that to do that. And at the beginning of combat, you may not move, but you will put X counters on another target creature you control where X is the number of experience counters you have. We will pass turn. So again, these 2 are starting out pretty strong, although, actually everyone's doing relatively decent so far. Everyone's getting a little bit of ramp, speeding up a couple turns faster than they were last game. That's good to see. So I'll draw for turn. I'll play a Plains for turn. Okay, so I'm seeing a flaw in the way I built this deck already because even though I mentioned it in game 1, when I built the deck, I forgot the differentiation about Anim's ability. I'm thinking it was similar to Krenko's when it's not. So I have a bunch of, literally in my hand right now, I have a land and a bunch of pump spells that are like, oh, +1/+3 or +2/2 till end of turn on a creature, thinking, oh, I can play them on Anim, go to attack, and then make a whole bunch of gnomes, but it's not like that. It's not like Krenko. You only make gnomes based on the counters that are on her, not her total power. So I'm going to have to swap out a bunch of those cards for cards that actually put counters on a creature. which I don't think is as prevalent in red and white as it would be in, say, blue or something, or green. We're going to go ahead and go to combat. We're going to swing at you because you're open. I'm going to put a +1/+1 counter on Anim and make one gnome, and you're going to take 2 damage from commander. And this gnome is tapped and attacking, so you will take 1 extra. There we go. Last turn. Untap, upkeep, draw for turn, play the mountain we said, and go for broke. Tapping 4, 5, 6, cost 1 less, so 7. The Dalek Emperor. Does not compute. Sorry, that was a bad joke. Anyway, 6/6. Affinity for Daleks. Other Daleks you control have haste, which means he has haste, although it was on the battlefield already. And more importantly, at the beginning of combat on my turn, each opponent faces a villainous choice. That player sacrifices a creature they control, or I create a 3/3 black Dalek artifact creature token with menace. Now this, as I was saying at the end of last game, this is how you want it to go down. Now it's still only on turn. I mean, this isn't bad. Turn 4 is actually really good to get a 7 drop out. But that's early enough that people only have 1 or 2 creatures out, and the 2 of them have their commanders. They're not going to want to sacrifice their commanders after they just played them. They haven't gotten any real utility out of them, so that means you're going to get Daleks. That's really awesome. So I'm going to move to combat. Do you want to sacrifice a creature or give me a Dalek? This I could sacrifice this, but next turn I can play the commander, make a bunch of tokens, and then swing, and then they would get a +1/+1 counter. I think that's the point. But if everyone does that, and I think she doesn't have to because she'll sacrifice that, so you're only going to get 2, but that's still 2. And they have menace. That's the problem. They are definitely not going to do it. So I'm definitely going to make 1 3/3 Dalek with menace. The question is whether or not this character is going. It's really early in the game. The menace is what's awesome about the whole ability, and what's bad about the ability in the sense that, like, yeah, if it was just you make a Dalek, sure, whatever. But the menace means, well, that it's going to immediately swing back at me and get through. But I'm going to say no, I'm not going to sacrifice, so I will get to it. And he says other Daleks have haste. That's makes these last 2 sections of his ability is the best part. Affinity for Daleks is like meh, whatever. It should have been affinity for artifacts, but it would have probably been too broken at that point because then it's very easy to dump a bunch of quick artifacts out, and you would have got him out on like turn 3, and it's I can see why they did it, but you almost might as well not have it on at all because it's like there aren't, as we've discussed, there were only 2 or 3 Daleks in the colors black and or red. There are other Daleks, but they were in other colors because you're supposed to put them underneath the guy that makes the Daleks or whatever, the creator of them. That's like supposedly supposed to be the Dalek commander. So there's only a handful that fit into this color scheme. So the only other thing you could do is do changelings, but there really isn't that many changelings in black and red either. So the affinity is never really going to come into play all that much, other than something like this, where it's like maybe you get 1 or 2, off the cost. But whatever, it's better than nothing. So that was the beginning of upkeep. We hadn't gotten to declare attackers portion, which is even better, which is why the haste is so awesome. We are now at declare attacker stage. So yes, I will send these 2 Daleks swinging. I will actually, well, he can't block, so you might as well swing him too. I think I'm going to send the Daleks 1 at each of you, and then the little insect guy at you. So you take 1, you take 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It's a great start for the Emperor. I like that. We're going to pass turn because there's no end step triggers. Now we're going to untap, upkeep. Wow, lots and lots of land. Playing a forest for turn. Tapping 2 forests and the plains, and then I will tap 4 into X. Oops, why was that 2 there? It's not like he got blown up already. Vrenston Menopatra Leader. So it's flying 0/0, but it comes in with X counters, which was 4. So it's coming in as a 4/4, and then it's going to make 4 1/1 green and white alien insect creature tokens with flying. By the way, flying. And he says, whenever you attack with 1 or more insects, put a +1/+1 counter on each of them. So we're going to move to combat. Well, do we want to move? Yes. Okay, so we have to. Not that I have to, but I want to get the ability. We're going to swing it at you. It's a 2/3, but when it goes to attack, it's going to get a +1/+1. So you're taking 3. 1, 2, 3. Because we can't go with the 6/6, and we can't even go with the 3/3 because they would, well, he probably would have let it go through. It's because it would kill his commander as well. I'm sorry, it's actually a 3/4. So he couldn't have blocked technically. Or rather, he could have, it would have been useless. He would have just lost his thing. So whatever. It's not that big a deal. I will then second main phase, which was dumb. I should have done it the other way around. But I got excited. I was like, oh boy, play the thing, do the thing. And it's like, that's one of the biggest downfalls, especially for me. You gotta calm down and take your turn slowly and make sure you're not messing up. It's not a big deal. It would have been an extra damage, but we won't do it. When Bond Beetle enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. And actually, you know what? It's a 0/1, so I will give it to itself, just so it's a 1/2. So you know what? It wouldn't have really affected anything anyway, because they don't have haste. So we're gonna go ahead and pass turn. Now you can see how fun this is because with 4/1/1s that if they, as soon as they attack, they're 2/2s, and that's gonna just keep going up. So someone's gonna need to deal with all of that. We're gonna come over here, untap, upkeep, draw for turn. I want to make sure I have the right colors. Yes. We're going to tap for blue and green to make Marleaf Pixie, a 2/2 flyer that can tap for mana. So that's one creature entered the battlefield. And then I will tap 2 blue and 1 other to play Latch Seeker. Latch Seeker is unblockable, a 3/1. That goes up to 2. So now we are going to move to the combat step. I'm going to move 2 counters. Not move, sorry, I keep saying that. I'm going to add 2 counters to Latch Seeker. And the best part about the way this deck is and the wording is that I, the player, get the experience counters. So no matter how many times people blow up or exile Ezuri, these don't go away unless I lose the game. It's almost like an emblem. Basically, it is an emblem. So as long as I can bring him back before combat, I can I can make counters onto whatever I need. So dump a bunch of creatures, it blows up. Oh no, cool. I recast them, play one more creature, it goes up. I can just keep doing that unless it gets to the point where it's too expensive to recast. But unfortunately, no one has haste. He can attack, but I don't know that it's worth doing. They're open, but I don't want to dogpile. They're the more important threat, and he's not going to get through. So we'll just pass turn. Apologize if I sound a little stuffy and nasally. I don't know why. I'm not sick, so it must be allergies or just whatever. Because I feel fine otherwise, but I keep having to, my nose is running and stuff. So untap, upkeep, and draw for turn. All right, so we're going to play Pit of Offerings. Comes in tapped, and when it enters the battlefield, exile up to 3 target cards from graveyards. There's only one person that has them, so we're going to exile these 3 cards, which is a little annoying, in the sense that the reason why you do that is because you can tap Pit of Offerings for colorless or 1 mana of any of the exiled cards' colors, which currently is all green, and I don't have green over here, so it doesn't really benefit me. But that's fine. So I have a really good card over here, but the only person that's going to hurt is the Daleks. And the Daleks aren't really that big of a deal. They could be, making us choose sacrificing. But I'm more worried about the insects constantly going up over there flying. Yeah, unfortunately, I really just don't have anything that I can play. And it's useless to go swinging just to get the, well, and it is useless to go swinging because nothing's going to get through. She's only a 2/3, so that's where this deck kind of gets stalled out. I guess we're gonna have to pass turn. I have some instants over there that I can do if someone attacks, but that's if I remember. Hopefully I will. We're gonna untap, upkeep, draw for turn, play a command tower. Yeah, that's a really good thing. Can I do that? Yeah. So we're gonna tap 1, 2, and 3 for black. There's 3 black, 3 others to play Massacre Worm. So 6/5. When Massacre Worm enters the battlefield, creatures your opponents control get -2/-2 in a turn. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, that player loses 2 life. Now, can anyone do anything? Okay, unfortunately, no. No one has any kind of responses that will quite work on that because it's just a creature. So, all right, my opponents are going to get -2/-2. They're the creatures. That gets destroyed, and they lose 2 life for every time it does. Oh, that's a big hit for them. So this dies, and so do all 5 of these. That's 10 damage. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Or rather, all 4 of these, plus that makes 5 creatures that died. There were 2/2s, well, or less. This is big enough to survive. This is big enough to survive. This survives 5, 3. So this survives. This doesn't, unfortunately. So you lose 2 life. Nice. That is excellent. Very, very cool. I'm also going to sacrifice Command Sphere to draw a card, just because I need some card draw and some stuff to go and do it. Okay, so I played a card, or I played a land rather. All right, and the best part is we now move to the combat step. Everyone makes their choice. Villainous choice. Do you sacrifice something? or let me get a Dalek. They only have 2, so they're going to say no, because that way they can block with Menace. So that's going to get 1. She's, I don't know. I don't have any creatures in my hand and no draw spells, so they're going to say no as well. You're going to get another one. Unfortunately, it'd be cool if it got dealt damage something, but oh wait, it did. No, they get -2/-2. It's not damage, so that wouldn't trigger the Saber Ant's ability. In either case, I can't block anything, so I guess we'll sacrifice it just so you don't get an extra one. But now we move to combat. This can't be blocked anyway. So where are we going to send it? We've got 32, 35, 28. And you have quite a few. I don't want to just go crazy and swing everywhere. Well, here's the thing. We're going to have 2 giant blockers. So we can and will swing everything. So these are 4 3/3s and a 1/1. I will send the 1/1 at you because you're already low life and, I'm going to leave you alone. Even though you didn't let me get a thing, it's like, that's fine. We're okay. I'm okay with you right now, bud. Don't you worry. We could just send 2 and 2. Probably the easiest and most fair way to do it. You can't block, so you're going to take 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you can block, but I would absolutely kill your commander. And that's not really what you need, so you're probably going to take the 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, Dalek's doing some damage and some work. I mean, that ability is why it costs 7 to get out, because it's very, unless you're playing against a token deck that someone can be like, yeah, I'll sacrifice one little 1/1, so you don't get a 3/3 with Menace. It's going to be tricky for people to decide what to do, and you're going to get a fair amount of Daleks. And then if someone does blow this up, now I've got 4 Daleks on the 5. It would literally just cost a red and a black, and then the commander tax of 2. So now it's something less to cast it the second time than it was the first time, which is hilarious. But we will go ahead and pass turn. Now what sucks is we have a great amount of mana over here, but I have literally 4 lands in my hand. I will play, well, untap, upkeep, draw. So I draw a card, then I will play a Plains for turn. Let's see. Yeah, I guess we have to at this point because, well, he didn't come after us. I have a Crozen Grip, so I can destroy the Dalek Emperor. But it's like, he's not really going after me. We can probably sit on that. It is instant with split second. So I can wait until he starts swinging stuff at me, and then you'd have to do it before moving to combat. It'd be like at the end of your main phase 1, you cast it so he doesn't get the beginning of combat trigger for the choice. But as long as he's going after them, I don't think that the insects would really care right now because they're in a bad situation anyway. There's nothing, regrettably, that we can do. I have a flying 4/4, and if I swung with it, yeah, I would make it a 5/5, but I would be completely unblockable. Or completely open. However, no, I guess the point is like he's got to be like if he swings Massacre Worm or the Emperor at us, we can still block those at least. They don't have menace. So we'll leave that up and we'll pass turn. Untap, upkeep, draw for turn. And I'm going to play Vine Glimmer Snarl. Unfortunately, it comes in tap because I don't have anything to reveal. We're going to go 1, 2, and 3. Play Mocking Sprite. Instant and sorcery spells I cast cost 1 less. I get an experience counter. I'm going to tap 1 blue for 1,000 Faced Shadow. It's a 1/1 with a flying 1/1, and when it enters the battlefield from your hand, if it's attacking, create a token that's a copy of another target attacking creature. Unfortunately, that would, well, I don't have enough mana to ninjutsu it out, even if I wanted to, so we'll just cast it normally. Goes up 1, because that's more important at this point. I have 1 open mana, nothing I can really do with it. We will move to combat, put 4 counters on here, up to 6, 7, 8, 9. So it is now a 9/7 that is unblockable. We're absolutely sending that at you. So 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's making a direct enemy of us, but you gotta go in. And we have 2 for blockers. Like we could, use these to block a small Dalek at least. We're then going to pass turn. Unfortunately, it's all we got. It's becoming an arch enemy where everyone's going to have to team up and try and take that out. Untap, upkeep, draw over here. We'll play Sun-Baked Canyon. I can pay a life and tap it to make red or white. Or I can pay 1 and tap it to sacrifice it to draw a card. I'm going to tap this and sacrifice it to draw a card. Sort of helpful. Tap these 2 for a Ruby Medallion. So red spells cost 1 less. So I will then tap a mountain to go ahead and braid the commander over there. because we don't want that. Although he's just going to be able, as we've already said, it's cheaper to cast it a second time than it is the first time, so he'll get it back out before it'll still happen, but you gotta try. Oh wait, what did I use? Oh, I put it back by accident. Yeah, Braid. And since we're getting hit so much, we're gonna move to combat. I'm going to wing Anim at you, the non-gnome, so it gets a counter, and then I'm gonna make 2 gnomes that are also tapped and attacking you. Doesn't matter because you're gonna easily block one of them. However, in response to me declaring attackers, before blockers are declared, I'm going to tap for a white and an acrobatic leap. Target creature gets +1/+3 and gains flying until end of turn. And then I'm going to tap a red for Dreadmaw's Ire. Until end of turn, target attacking creature gets +2/+2 and gains trample. And whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, destroy target artifact that player controls. Awesome. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 commander damage in the air. You don't have flyers, right? Yeah. That one she already got 2 in, which is nice. And then, oh, I untap it too. Awesome. So it from acrobatic leap. So it's sort of like vigilance. Whenever this creature deals combat damage, I get to destroy an artifact. So I'm going to destroy one of your Daleks. So that means it's not as easy for you to recast your commander. Haha. All right. And then you have these 2. You're going to block one of them with the Massacre Worm, but you will take an extra damage. All right. That's a pretty solid hit back. That's everything we can do here. We're going to pass. Okay. Untap. Upkeep. Draw for turn. Going to play Mount Doom. I can pay 1 life and tap for a black or a red, and then do some other stuff. All right, I have a really good spell in my hands, but I don't have enough to cast everything. All right, so this is going to cost 4 less. So that means I need 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to recast the Emperor. 2 mana left. Unfortunately, there's nothing I can do with that 2 mana. However, we're moving to the beginning of combat. We do our things. It's like, are you going to sacrifice? If you do, you're wide open anyway, so that would be dumb. So you're going to say no. You're going to say, yeah, I'm not letting you do it. You're going to say, yeah, I'm not letting you do it. So then we're going to move to combat. I'm going to sing. I'm going to sing. I'm going to swing the Massacre Worm at you. I'm going to swing Changeling at you just because little damages. And then, well, let's take a breather for a second. Like, what are we looking at? 3 times 4, so that's 12 damage going at you. So all 12 of it would get through if I swung it in that direction. It's probably what we should do. Because you did the most damage to us, so we're going to swing all of them at you, this at you, which you already took damage, and then the 6/5 at you, just to put some pressure on. So yeah, 3 times 4 is 12. You can't block because of menace, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Awesome. You can block, and it does not have trample, so yeah, you'll just block with Thousand Face Shadow. Doesn't get through, but now you're down to 2 creatures again. But it's okay because once the creatures come in, they've done their job for the most part because it's about getting the experience counters up. We're gonna go ahead and pass. Untap, upkeep, draw. Here we go. We're gonna play a Plains for turn, tapping 1, 2, 3 green and 2 others to play Vorapede, a 5/4 vigilance and trample with Undying. So if it dies and it didn't have any counters on it, you return it to the battlefield under its own control with a +1/+1 on it. So now we have a blocker. Now, granted, we should leave them both up if we want to deal with menace, but this is becoming a threat to everybody, and we kind of have to start dealing with it. I say no. I say we go ahead and swing the 4/4 flyer at you. You have the highest life total. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oops, wait a second. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. Now they're going to be upset. They're going to be like, "What are you looking at me for? They're clearly the threat. They're going to kill us all." But what nobody realizes is we have a Crow's Grip, and we can just. The hope is that we let them keep killing them, and then whenever it's about to be a problem for us, we blow up the Dalek Emperor, and hopefully. But again, I mean, they're still making the Daleks. Once they're on the field, it's not going to matter whether we blow up the Dalek Emperor or not. So it's a mixed bag, and I guess what we do is we sit on it, and then at their end step, we'll have to play it, blow it up, so they have to recast to get any benefit of it, using up most of their mana, if not all of it. That's probably the smart play. He will then, of course, retaliate by sending all of the Daleks at us, and we only have the one blocker. But it's probably got to be a thing. And see, that's my point, though. If we do that, then we will get the crackback. If we leave them alone, they might. But then again, these are now the highest life totals, so it's a whole thing. Depends on the mindset of each individual. Do you go for, okay, they're at 14, we take them out no matter what, focus on them later, or are you like me, where you try and get everyone's life total down as low as possible so that you can kill everybody on one turn? I've said it before and I'll say it again. I personally feel that taking out the entire board on one turn is more impressive than winning a game after you've killed somebody half an hour ago, and then this person, and then you squeak out the victory over here. Having one person sit there twiddling their thumbs for 40 minutes, half an hour, while you continue to play Magic isn't the best. Whereas if you keep everybody in the game and it keeps changing and back and forth, and then I swoop in at the last second and win. That's the stuff that I think is more impressive and more fun. But that's just me. We're gonna pass. We're gonna untap, upkeep, draw for turn. 1, 2, 3, 4. And play Tide Skimmer. Play flying 2/3. Whenever you attack with 2 or more creatures with flying, you draw a card. And then because I cost 1 less to cast if you control a creature with flying, so I will pay 2 to play Winged Words, draw 2 cards. Those are good cards. Unfortunately, I obviously don't have the mana to play, and now I can't remember if I played a land. I drew Winged Words, and then I think I immediately went to casting. I believe I can still play Hidden Cataract, comes in tapped. I think. I don't believe I played a land. Right? 1, 2, 3, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is turn 6, so that should be about right. Okay, move to combat step. This gets another 5, so now it is 11, 13, or 12. That's 14, whatever. 14, 11, 14, 12. That is pretty awesome. Now it could straight up kill them, but why? That's the threat. So we're gonna go ahead and swing 14 damage at you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There we go, down to 7. I mean, if they had another really awesome bunch of pump spells, they could get through. They might be able to take them out. We're gonna pass. That's all we can do. I didn't miss anything. We're gonna untap over here. Upkeep, draw. Well, maybe. Ooh, that's bad for everybody, but not. I mean, it's good. It would help, but it would hurt everybody except for them, sort of. Yeah, that would literally take out every creature except for well, it actually wouldn't help. They would probably just sign their own death warrant. So the whole point is I have Gallifrey Falls and no more. It's a double-sided card, and it says the red side for 6 mana says it deals 4 damage to each creature. If the creature dealt that way would die, it gets exiled instead. That would kill all of the Daleks, which is great, and this little guy, which means it would be harder to recast this if it gets blown up. But it would kill my character, it would kill this, and this, actually both of those. So the only things that would survive would be Massacre Worm, the Emperor, and the Latchkey Seeker, or the Latch Seeker. Now, once again, here's where diplomatic stuff would come in, politicking. Because if this character said, hey guys, I can kind of deal with that, but it's going to hurt us too, and we'll have to try and come back. Like, I can blow some stuff up, but it's not everything. He'll still keep his good stuff. They could be like, yo, I can get rid of if you can get rid of the little Daleks, I can get rid of the Emperor. And when doing that, you would not be able to recast it. And then we would think, oh, you can't recast it, okay. Which means he would just have the Massacre warm up. But then you're still dealing, but then they would have to be, and then he would be like, yeah, but you still got a 14 something unblockable over there. I don't know why I'm the concern. Which is a semi-valid point. Not completely, but they would be like, ooh, that's a good point. And even if this character wants to be like, yo, I won't come at you guys, I'm going to take out, darn it, get the wire. Yo, I'm going to come up, he's my concern. That's great and all, but one hit, he's gone, then you're going to have to go for them. So that's a very empty bargaining posture, highly dubious, as Unicron would say. So I'm just trying to think of, is it worth it? Like, obviously I can't politic because it's all me and that would be stupid. I mean, that is how I would play it out if I started to do it, but couldn't pretend like it's difficult. One of the minor drawbacks of doing these games is that you take out the politicking, although honestly the politicking is kind of annoying. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but it always, every time I have a chance at winning, someone pipes up and starts crying about like, well, if you do this, and it's only because they want to win, which obviously everybody wants to win, but it's only because they have a way to win on their turn, and if they screw you over, then they get to do it, and it's almost always how it is. It's always like, okay, I'm poised to do something cool. They cry. These people help them blow up my stuff. And then, okay, pass turn, I don't do anything. Pass turn, they win. And it's like, well, you guys just help them do it. Why didn't you help me do it? You know what I mean? If you'd done nothing, I would have won. You did screwed up, now they won. It's not even like you got any benefit out of it. Whatever. Do the hands, whatever. So, all right, we've been flapping my mouth here for way too long. I guess we'll just do it. It's the smart play. 2 red, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, it costs 1 less, so we don't have to do that. Gallifrey Falls. 4 damage to each creature. If it dies, it gets exiled. So that actually just keeps the 2 because it now has to be recast. All of these get destroyed. This gets destroyed. These get destroyed. These are destroyed. Destroyed. This is 4, 4. Yep. Okay. And then I pass turn. Cool. Hang on. That's your end step. I'm going to tap 3 and Crowsly Grip the Dalek Emperor. But now it costs 4 more to cast, and you have no way to reduce the cost because the Daleks are gone. So now we come over here. We're super pissed off because we were doing good and we now lost. Untap, upkeep, draw. Play a Blood Crypt. Comes and tapped. I'm not going to pay the life. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's just barely enough to cast him, and it needs 4 more, so not going to happen. So we're going to tap 2 and play Moonglove Changeling. That helps. Then I will tap another 3 for Mirage Mirror, which we saw last game. It's an artifact, but I can pay 2, and it becomes a top copy of target creature, artifact, or enchantment till end of turn. So it's cool that I could copy Moonglove and make 2 Daleks, but I'd be wasting 2 mana to do it, so it really wouldn't be a net gain in terms of getting the casting out. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So I still am 2 mana short from recasting. So everyone is open, and I have a 6/5, and it doesn't matter because he's got he's just gonna kill me. So you blew it up. I'm sending 6 at you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Screw you, meh. And that's all I can do. We pass turn. We untap. We upkeep. We draw. We play a forest for turn. Wow, this is kind of setting things up for insects to take it again. Not super awesome, but it's cool that it's doing well. But in these games, I like to see each of the decks win like as much as they can. Or I like to see each deck win at least once, as long when viable. So 2 green and a white, and then I have to pay 2 for the commander tax, and then I can pay 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 into it. So for X equals 6, he comes in as a 6/6, and I make 6 flying 1/1 insects. That's kind of like it. And that's all we can do. We pass turn. Now everyone sees that they're the threat because as soon as they swing those 6 insects anywhere, they become 2/2s. So that's 12 damage. That's a lot. So we're going to untap over here, upkeep, draw. Now what do we need to do? We need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to just recast the commander. I have nothing that's a 1-drop. We can put 5 more counters on here up to 16. 16, 17, 18, 19. So it's a 19 something. Regrettably, it's not enough to kill anything other than those 2, but they're not a threat. So we absolutely send it your way. 19 damage. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We can definitely get them on the next turn, but they're going to be swinging with 12 damage and have something else. I mean, that's flying. So 12, 18, 19. So 19 damage minimum could come cracking back at us. And they might still hold the grudge too. They could come over this way. But that's it. We pass turn. We untap. We upkeep. We draw. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to recast the commander, I guess. I really don't have anything else that's viable to help. That doesn't help reduce the cost enough to cast anything. But no haste, no nothing, so we pass. So we untap over here. We upkeep. We draw. Temple of the False Gods. That is 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 5, 6, 7, yeah, 7 and 4, 11. That's just enough. Wow, that is a crazy good top deck. See, and everyone's like, Temple of the False Gods is garbage. I hate that card. Look, it saved it right there. Because it was exactly enough to let it come in and recast. because 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oops, wait a second. 11, right, because it costs one less because it's a Dalek. Woo! No, that's not. That's what the Dalek Emperor is saying suck it to both you guys that hate Temple of the False Gods and you guys at the table. Because we are going to combat. Villainous choice. Activate. Do you sacrifice to let me make a Dalek? Probably not, actually. Like, while you have enough to sacrifice, there's 6 of them. That allows you to block 3 Daleks if they're made, which they're not, but yeah, so no. Which would also be dumb, because, it's enough to kill you. Will you sacrifice? You're not going to... Well, actually, honestly, all of them probably say no. So the nice thing is, these 3 have Menace. The question is, where do they go? I guess that's the biggest threat. Like, these are both the threat, really. If we don't take one or more of them out, they're going to win. Possibly this. I'm glad that we were able to recast the commander, but it's not enough to save the day and win the game. We're going to ignore you. If we swung everything at you, it wouldn't be enough, even if you took it all, right? Because this is 3 times 3 is 9, 10, 11, 11, it's 17. It's not enough to kill you. And if we swung it in your direction, you could double block all of the Daleks. You'd lose all your insects. You would survive. They would take like 2, and you would have to block the Massacre Worm. Because you could take this, no problem, but if you didn't block the Massacre Worm with your commander, you would lose. But then what are you doing? You're king making, I guess, because you're going to kill them, and then they can easily kill you, and she's no question, she'd probably just, like, draw her top deck and go, no, I concede. However, if you attack them, you're still not... Are you king making? Because we just said, what was it, 9, 10, 11, 17 off of the 25 would be 8. They could absolutely kill in the air if you did that. So yeah, that's unfortunate. Dalek Emperor just gets to decide who wins, and I hate that. Because especially since insects already won, my inclination is to just make it so that they win, so that we see something different. But I guess the point is it doesn't matter, because we're saying, unless I'm missing something big on the board today, let me know in the comments if I did. We are literally, no matter what this character does, they're choosing who wins the game. And it's not about, there's nothing, it doesn't matter. You go there, they win. You go here, they win. It's not about anything else. Like, they're equal. It's the same thing. It's not like I'm choosing to go here and they're going to win a couple turns from now. You know what I mean? I guess technically it is, because if we go at them, they get to win. Well, no, it would still take 2 turns, because we would still be alive, and so would they. So they would have to, like, kill them, go around, and then crazy, crazy time. And I don't know that it would be any easier if you were playing with other people, because we would just all be stopped debating and trying to do the math, because my thought process is, wait a second, if I go at him, hit him for whatever I said, 17 damage, dropping them down to 8, that incentivizes them to kill them. Because they have a 19 unblockable, it's going to be bigger. Ah, that's right, but I have to exile in this hand, which is what I was doing the up and down for. So that isn't a threat. Nobody else realizes that, so this is the threat as far as insects is concerned. Now that's the real rub, because no matter what Daleks does, they immediately get killed by somebody because they become the threat. So if I send everything there, these guys are going to kill them because, oh, I have Path to Exile. This thing is not a concern to me. You are. You're going to make more Daleks that I can't stop because of Menace. If I swing over here, he loses all of his insects. They're not going to, he's going to lose everything. They're not going to care about him. He's not going to be able to build that back up again as fast. He can swing at you. And from this character's perspective, yeah, I get board wiped basically, because I block all your Daleks. My guys die. I block your Massacre Worm. My commander dies. I take 2 damage. I can still recast the commander and just make like 2 or 3 insects when I do it. I don't have to worry about that because I get to path it and then swing in. But at the same time, that will be a slog to try and get that damage on that because it's 25 versus 1/1, like 2/1/1 flying insects that go up each turn only by 1. So it's 2 damage, then 4 damage. Then it would take a long time to do that. And if he has a kind of card draw and can play creatures to, it's not as cut and dry. I think Ezuri will probably win the game, but I know that Daleks can't because no matter what they do, they're gonna die. And we're just wasting time babbling about this back and forth, but it's interesting to me because it's like crap. What do you do? How do you do this in a real game? Who would you attack? And you don't have the privilege of knowing that they have a path to exile and all this stuff. So it's like you, from the Dalek's perspective, who do you go after to try and survive long enough to win? The idea is we're swinging all of this. He came in, he can't swing. So we will have one blocker, but it's only on the ground. And that's unblockable, and those are in the air. So again, irrelevant. So unfortunately, he's going to take all of it. And as we said, that's what? 9, 10, 11, 6, 17. I have one untapped mana over there. It's not enough to cast anything in the hand, and I don't think it's any instance anyway. Last turn. Untap, upkeep, draw. I mean, okay, sure, why not? We'll tap 3 and Natural Connection. Get a basic land. We saw a forest. It goes on the battlefield tapped, shuffle. Sucks because we don't really need it, and we'll play a land for turn. It's a plains because we had it in the hand. That's that. But so all I have is the path to exile left. I have nothing else I can do. None of these lands can sacrifice to draw a card. All of these are flying, and you're at 8. So now the question is, where do we go for the best damage? We send the commander at you, and all of these at you. Because now this becomes a 7/7. It's a 6/6 with a +1/+1 on it, but we'll just say it's 7/7. You're like, what are you doing? He's got an unblockable. It's like, yeah, I don't care. I'm doing what I'm doing. I made my decisions. And then he clearly has to think, okay, shoot, he's got an answer for me. But that's that. And then 6 damage. They go up by 2. So now it's 12 damage in the air. We could take them out, or we could take her. I think, yeah, we take her out. We could split it, of course. We could, like, 4 of them would be 8 damage, so we could send 2 at her, or 4 at her and 2 at him. I guess that's the smart way, right? 4 in the air, which is there are 4 2/2s, so that's 8. And then 2 2/2s, which is 4 damage. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we pass turn. And hopefully this character is like, okay, wait a second. You took, like, I have an unblockable that's insanely big. You have untapped mana and 1 card in hand. You have to have something that's going to stop me. So untap, upkeep, draw. Soaring Sea Cliff. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, we'll play Sky Scanner. This goes up and we draw a card. So 1/1 flyer, when there's a battlefield, we draw a card. Cool, land doesn't help. I have 3 land. The whole thing is like I have Rogue's Passage. I could make something else unblockable, but I can't put the counters on Ezuri, so he can't get through. Otherwise, it'd be like, oh, I could dump them on there and make 2 unblockables at you, haha. And oh, it just sucks. But yeah, I can tap 3 to play Midnight Clock. Then tap the last 2 to play Blighted Agent, which is awesome. Puts that up to 7. I moved the combat. I put 7 counters on Blighted Agent, making it an 8/8 with Infect. Very, very scary, but it isn't enough. We move to combat. I swing both of them at you. In response, you play a Plains. Swords to Path to Exile, the Latch Seeker. So I get a basic land on the battlefield tapped. You do take 1, 2, 3 commander. It's 4/4. I have a flyer. It's not enough. Untap, upkeep, draw. It's a freaking forest. Doesn't matter, but it's still annoying that I'm getting lands when I don't need them. yeah, go to combat, swing everything that's all flyers in the air. They go up. So these are 3/3s now. That's an 8/8. You have one flyer, you block the 8/8, it dies. Wait a second. There's 6 of them. So yeah, you're taking 18 damage in the air. Boom. Kaboosh. Dead. I'm very impressed that Insects has now won 2 games in a row. I would have liked to have that game. Well, I would have liked to have anything else win, but it's still cool that it did that well. I didn't think the Insects would be as solid as it is. Again, it's largely because I don't have a ton of interaction and I need more card draw. So all of these decks should have been faster, and they should have been able to blow up that. That thing should have been blown up a long time ago before it got to like 17 or whatever it was. Dalek Emperor probably should have gotten blown up more. There probably should have been a board wipe in there. Like I'm just basing this on my experience with my friends and playing at some of the command fests I've done this year, Baltimore, Pittsburgh. A lot of people run board wipes. It's not uncommon. For the most part, these 3 decks performed very well this time around. She didn't, but I didn't work very hard when I built her. I built it last night. I was kind of bored with like going through cards, so I really didn't go through all my white and red cards. I just built it off of what I had, then went through multicolored artifacts and a few of the cards that I had when I opened those packs from her set, Lost Caverns of Ixalan. So there's probably better red and white cards that I have that should be in there, but whatever. I'm just like, maybe sometime. Part of the problem with trying to make constant new decks for the channel, I think I'm going to take a break from that for a while and just go back to mixing up the decks I have already built for a little while. Because while it's fun to experiment with new things and stuff, it is getting a little tedious going through these cards and then trying to, okay, I've got 200 cards for a 100 card deck. Now I have to pare it down and then I have to put those cards back in the box alphabetically for the next deck. It's like, ugh. So anyway, I really appreciate you watching. I hope you had some fun. Hope you saw some cool cards you want to put in your decks. And I will see you next time.